Welcome to Lift Your Legacy. My name is Jacob Rupp, father, husband, and rabbi. And each week we bring you an inspiring person or message to help you unlock your inner potential and create change that will impact the future. Thank you for listening, and let's get to it.
So we just saw that on Twitter, Donald Trump was tweeting about this idea that now we have more schools that are implementing Bible studies. And of course, this is a very controversial topic because should we have Bible study in public school? Now, obviously, I am biased for a variety of reasons because I send my kids to private school, specifically Jewish school, specifically that has Bible study in it. That was something that I was looking for. In addition, I appreciate that there is a particular concern what part of the Bible teaching. Jews obviously are studying the Old Testament. Christians have the New Testament. Is it appropriate to put the New Testament, the Old Testament? What about the other kinds of people out there that don't study any of these kind of concepts, etc.? So it goes back to actually a principle that I saw in my years in a fraternity in college, which was basically I was part of the Jewish fraternity, and as part of the Jewish fraternity, we were always trying to figure out what our identity would be. So, which component are we trying to be cool? Do we try to do sports? Like everyone's trying to do everything and to compete in all of the areas where, in order to show themselves as a good house, so to speak. But the thing that I kept realizing over time was that it's very important to celebrate what makes you different and to really go all in to your strengths and not try to compete in the other areas where you're not naturally going to be as successful as somebody else. So we were a Jewish fraternity, and as a result, I said the most important thing that you want to promote is this idea of being a Jewish fraternity. Then you have to ask yourself, well, what does it mean to be a Jewish fraternity, and what are the different kinds of components and morality and values that we want to promote as part of the Jewish fraternity? And then you will naturally attract the right kind of people that want to be a part of this institution. So how does that play into Bible study? So the interesting thing is, especially if you think about it, public school doesn't mean that it is bereft or that there's absolutely no sense of purpose, that it's, for everybody. The idea of education is we're trying to build people that are going to be productive civilians and productive citizens in the world and the country in which we live. And the country in which we live is a country which is and has been and is consistently founded on basic principles of the Bible. Again, even if you want to say things like, the concept of truth, the concept of freedom, the concept of private property, the concept of all equal rights in front of God, like this stuff all is from the Torah, right? It's all in the Bible. So even though we have this concept that we need to keep religion, there's this, it gets a tremendous misnomer because there's this idea that that there's a separation between church and state. First of all, everyone has to know that comes from the Bible itself, the New Testament, right? So even if you're quoting that idea of separation of church and state, that's a biblical that's from the Bible, right? It's a religious principle. The second, again, not a Jewish principle specifically, but it comes from Christianity. But the second point is that if we live in a country where we are successful as a result of the positive values that have come out of the Bible and out of the application of the Bible, that should be something that we should not shy away from. That's a strength that we have. That's not something that we want to have the society be bereft of. In fact, we want to build children, build leaders, people who are going to take this kind of stuff seriously. Now, if you would say, okay, we don't believe in that, or the principles themselves, and again, anyone that says the principles of the Bible are inappropriate or whatever you'd want to say about that, okay, that's a different question. In a lot of cases, I'd wonder which principles are specifically inappropriate, and are those the principles that are going to be spoken about? But in general, if a person has a basic sense, and again, we're so socialized towards this in America today that we naturally assume that our morality, all these basic concepts of, again, like I said, truth in front of the law and the value of the individual, these are all concepts that are stemmed from the Bible. So the question would be like, why don't you want to share that? And then aren't you also guilty in that case of not really playing to your strengths, but rather trying to create a general platform by which, stuff doesn't really mean anything. So if it's important that we learn about science, I think the idea that being important to learn about morality is also equally important.